But yeah, cool. So we're now here with the campaign coordinator, Hustings, with Hayden, and I'm not sure if there's anyone else here that. Who was the other candidate? Do you know? Do you
It's
recognize
Asra
this?
Lamb.
Right.
I don't
I
know
don't think they're
if
here.
she's here.
So, um, well, either she turns up or she doesn't. So, yeah. Do you want to start with opening statements? Just tell people what you're about, and
Okay.
all that other stuff. Cool.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Haydn Osborne-Brookes. I've been a member of the Green Party for just over a year. I joined during the general election campaign. I live in North Herefordshire, so when Ellie Chowns was campaigning here. For the past year, I've been Under 18s Liberation Group co-chair, and I'm now Under 18s officer. I was elected to that this weekend. And I'm also been head of campaigns for the Young European movement. So I have quite a bit of experience in campaigns. I'm also currently running a campaign called Make Votes at 16 Effective, which is focused on citizenship education in schools to accommodate votes at 16. And people like Natalie Bennett and Carla Denyer involved in that. We had a really exciting launch of that this weekend. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience in campaigns, and hopefully I can display to you my general ideas for campaigns in this hustings.
Cool. Thank you. So let's open up the questions to the group. There was no sort of questions that I felt was relevant for campaigns that was submitted. So yes, if you would like to ask a question, I've put it in the chat, which it looks like it has done. So I will invite him to speak if he wants. Otherwise, I can read it out. But if you want to speak, just put your hand up and I will call you. Alternatively, yeah, you can also just pop it in the chat. So, Kate.
Um, Kate Hatton, Wolverhampton, the Disability Policy Working Group are asking the Campaigns Committee to support campaigns and highlight charities that are for or about disabled people in a motion coming to conference this autumn. It might not get heard, so even if we don't get this motion past this conference, will you say now that you'll support us and join in those kinds of campaigns?
Hmm. Yes. Am I allowed to respond? Yes.
Yeah, just respond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Cool. Um. So yeah. I've been really clear throughout this campaign. I feel I put a video out about this today. That I want the people who are most affected by our campaigns to be directly involved in that. So, for your example, campaign on disability or rights for disabilities or rights for disabled people, I want disabled people to be directly involved in that and have their voices heard. So I will absolutely get help with a campaign with the disability working group. And if you send me an email, then I can make sure that I keep that promise. But yeah, I want people to see the campaigns which they want to see, people from marginalized groups especially. And so if I'm contacted by those groups, and I will stay in touch with the co-chairs of policy working groups and special interest groups to make sure that I'm doing the campaigns people want to see. So yeah, get in touch with me either before or when I'm involved in the role, and I would be more than happy to do that.
Cool. Is there any other questions that anyone would like to ask Hayden? Just smile away. Um, yeah, I guess maybe a question for myself is
Okay.
so what is it that you do as campaign coordinator, and what would it be that you want to do differently than what is currently being done by the current campaign coordinator?
Hmm. I'll split this up into sort of three-ish points. So my first point is that I want to make sure our campaigns are um, more visible, because at the moment all our campaigns are sort of put into packs and put on a campaign's website, which nobody knows is there. It took me a while to figure out that it was actually there, and I want that to be more open and accessible to members. So I will find a space for that to be, whether that be the new digital app that's being developed or something along those lines. Secondly, I want to make sure that those who are most affected by our campaigns are at the heart of them. So I will work with policy working groups and special interest groups to make sure that the campaigns they want to see are happening and that their voices are directly input into that. And then my final point would be, in general, I think I'd like to see some more campaigns on intersection linking our campaigns towards a class-based view and a view of economic justice. So, for example, Carla Denyer put out a video the other day which showed a really interesting fact that about 80% of right-wing groups which are campaigning against trans rights are actually funded by the fossil fuel industry. And that's a really interesting statistic because you wouldn't initially think that, but it's clear that the same companies which are polluting our rivers, which are polluting our planet and causing our planet to burn, whilst also doing a whole bunch of economic and social damage to us, are funding all these, sort of major problems. And so I want that intersectional link, especially in our campaigns, and particularly to economic justice, because that is what is on a lot of people's minds. And if we can link that to a class-based view where we change the national narrative, I've seen somebody put in the chat, polluting planets and minds. I know that's something from Zach's campaign video, definitely. So yeah, an intersectional link which can change the national narrative away from blaming migrants and trans people for our problems, because they're definitely not causing them, towards creating a view that it's the 99% against the 1%, because it is, and that is the real situation of our country. And so that's what I'll do.
Cool, thanks for that. Does anyone else have a question for Haydn?
There are 2 in the chat.
Oh, yes, there are 2 in the chat. Okay, yes, I didn't see the chat. I should take a look more of a look at chat. So Tris asks, what are the biggest barriers the Green Party faces when campaigning, and how can these be overcome?
I'd say comms is the biggest issue. Obviously, we have had some good campaigns over the past year. I'm not going to discredit the work of the campaigns committee because they've done a decent job. And I'd like to see our comms improve a lot. And I'd work with the external comms officer to do this, because we have great messages, we have amazing policies, but are our campaigns getting out there? Are they being seen? Not particularly. And so I think upping our comms game is really a key part of that, so that we can get our messages out there and so that we can make sure that our amazing campaigns are being seen. And so I think comms at the moment is the biggest barrier to our campaigns, and that can be overcome by working with the external comms officer, in my part, working with the external comms officer and the rest of GPEx to make sure we have proper funding towards comms staff members and new ideas brought in for comms.
Cool, thanks. Kim asks, Kim Matthews, she, her, asks, do you have any campaigns in mind that you'd like to run?
Yeah, so the biggest one I've already pledged. I'll say I've already pledged to running a campaign on trans rights, especially due to the recent Supreme Court ruling, which was absolutely disgusting and completely wrong. And so, campaign on trans rights is something I've pledged to do, and I'm really, really happy to look forward to that. And I will work with the LGBTIQA Greens and a number of other groups, hopefully, to make sure that has input from our trans members and actually raises up the voices of our trans members, because we need to raise up more diverse voices in our party. I'll accept that I am white and middle class, and cisgendered, but I will do my best to raise up more diverse voices in the party, especially considering our MPs mostly make up that sort of type of person. And then, another campaign I'd really like to run is a big one on economic justice, and so showing that migrants really aren't the problem, it's the ultra rich. And I'd like to run a campaign where we can aim to change that national narrative and actually have an influence on how people how people have this view of our society, and show that really minorities aren't the problem. The only minority that is the problem is the ultra rich at the end of the day. That's something I'd be really keen to do.
Cool. Darius asks, are you scared about 2026 where multiple areas have all outs?
Could I ask what specifically Darius means by all outs?
Darius, do you want to unmute and ask the question, or do you want to pop it in chat?
I'll also just say I believe I met or saw Darius at the Young Greens convention last weekend. So great to see you there. I'm assuming it's in reference to local elections, though.
I think so, yeah. Darius, you there? Oh, that's just where, oh, yeah, all seats were for that. Yeah, so I would
Okay.
imagine it is local elections, yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say I'm scared for our next local elections. I'll say I'm really optimistic. We have a gigantic opportunity to win with a crumbling Labour government, the Conservatives, which nobody are ever going to go back to, the Lib Dems offering kind of nothing, a sort of bland alternative, and the Reform offering only a message of hate. We are the best alternative for the British public, and that's obviously why I'm a Green member. So I think as long as we make sure we get a stronger, bolder message out there, which the British public will see and that voters will see, and actually be hopeful about, then I think we can do really, really well in 2026. And I would love to see us winning more in areas like London, where we have massive potential, and to build for things like the London Assembly and mayoral elections in 2028.
Looks like we have another question from Kim. It says, me again. What campaigning experience do you bring to the table?
Yes, I touched on this a bit at the start, but so for the past year, I've run the Under 18s committee as Under 18s co-chair. I've campaigned mostly on votes to 16, and I'm very glad to say that's been successful. Now that campaign focus has shifted towards a campaign on improving citizenship education in schools and having mandatory mock elections so that young people can be informed and excited to vote, because vote to 16 has a gigantic potential to increase turnout. And so that's part of it. And I've worked on doing letter campaigns for that. I have worked with party figures like Carl Denyer and Natalie Bennett, who have actively been involved in the campaign. I'm not sure if anybody saw the launch on social media, but it got quite a bit of traction. And then also I'm head of campaigns for the Young European movement, and there I've had a massive focus on listening to our membership, because a lot of the membership there felt that they hadn't been listened to by the past board on campaigns. So I ran a membership consultation, and we figured out that we want to do youth mobility and Erasmus Plus, and so those will be our campaigns for this year. And so yeah, I feel I have experience in engaging people in our campaigns and also running campaigns.
Yeah, cool. So we've got someone here called Yash Pine, who has asked, will this new digital app include stronger comms? And will we ramp up our social media posts with better comms? It would support with better comms, it would support for local members to set up local events that are more community based, i.e., weekly support for small events for members of the public to enjoy. What do you think, Haydn?
So firstly, I'll say comms won't be my portfolio if I'm elected to this role, but I will work to improve our comms because I think it's a big area we can improve on. So I'll work with the external comms officer on that. As for the digital app, what the digital app is, so the Green Party has been developing a canvassing app, as far as I know, which is focused on helping with canvassing for members. Labour has one, Lib Dems have one, etc. And so that would likely be the focus of that. In terms of campaigns, I'd like to get our campaigns guidance onto those apps, particularly local campaigns guidance. So I suppose, yeah, local campaigns guidance can play a part in that and can play a part in your local events and engaging more local members. So that would be how that app could help out there.
Cool. Is there any more questions to Haydn?
I will also say, if you have any questions which you suddenly realise you forgot to ask after, my email is on the internal elections website. So please do send me any questions because I love receiving them.
Yeah, cool. Misha asks, would the app also be used for organizing protests and marches?
Not as far as I know, but that could be a part of local campaigns guidance. You see, so I will note that down now, and if I get elected, I will try to see how we can include that.
Cool. See if we can squeeze in any last questions, because obviously we will want to finish up in about 4 minutes time. So I would say maybe one or two questions if anyone has any. Tumbleweeds? Yeah, my brain is dead with this too. I was thinking like I'll just think of questions on the spot and that'll be fine. And actually, yeah, I might have a question. So like obviously there's a big petition right now about the online safety act.
Hmm.
Do you have any idea as to if there is any plans to have a campaign about that, what that would entail? I guess also from a special interest group side, on the LGBT Greens, I did mention that it's something that we could possibly campaign on, given the fact that it would disproportionately affect trans and non-binary people.
Hmm.
And well, just any sort of gay or trans people, to be honest, because usually these sorts of things are considered adult content. Um, do you have any idea if there's any plans for that? How much would you be able to support in that? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Online Safety Act has been a disaster. As someone who I'm under 18, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm 16. I can touch on how I think that's a benefit rather than a hindrance, and I hope I've impressed you and shown my competence today. But yeah, I've obviously been directly affected by that, and what I found is actually it's prohibited me from accessing information on issues like Palestine, and etc. And so it is. It is actually somewhat censoring stuff, and I know it's also been an issue for the trans community as well, and so I would like to run a campaign against that, or for changing that so that it doesn't censor things. And I would definitely be open to that idea, and I'd have to work with special interest groups and the parliamentary team to see if we could do that. Yeah.
I think one quick fire question. There's something here about trade unions. Would the app include trade union events? Here it's also got, would you cooperate with trade unions or charities in your campaigns when relevant, and if so, how?
On the app, I'm going to say I'm going to try not to comment on that anymore because I don't have the specific information on that, and it's just my ideas on how we can mold this app. If it had events in there like that, it would be great. But I don't know the specifics. I'm not a staff member, so I will try not to comment on that anymore. But yeah, that'd be a good idea. And would I cooperate with unions or charities with my campaigns? If they were willing to work with us and if they aligned with our values, and the party was happy to have them in general, then yes, I'd love to have more people because the more people we have involved in a campaign, the better it can be. It can amplify our effects. So, if possible, yeah, unions and charities, definitely.
Cool. I think we're at the end of our time. So if you would like to just have your closing statement, and then afterwards we will close this room and go back to the main room for a break.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to me and sort of interviewing me as my the other candidate isn't here today. But yeah, so essentially, I want to change the way we do our campaigns. I want to make sure that more people who are directly affected by our campaigns are involved, and I will work with special interest groups and policy working groups to make sure we can do that, and that their voices are heard in our campaigns, and that their voices can be raised up through our campaigns, so we have a more diverse range of voices speaking for our party. I would also like us to have a bit more of a focus on intersection linking our policies, particularly to the economic side of things, as that is a priority for the British public according to polling data. And I do love data-led campaigns. And yeah, I would say, and also I'll touch on my age because I know I brought that up a second ago. I'm 16 years old. I'm very young. Hopefully, I've proven I'm competent despite that. But I think that I can help us appeal to more young people in our campaigns. We have a gigantic potential with young people. And the other day, we had our first poll where we were leading with 18 to 24-year-olds. As a young person myself, I know what young people want to see in our campaigns. And so I hope that I can deliver that and invest in our future vote share by building up with young people, whilst also maintaining our support from older voters, of course. And so please rank me first on August the 1st or whenever you vote throughout that month. And I would love to be your next campaigns coordinator. Thank you.
Cool. And I would also just mention what Hayden had just mentioned just now, that if you do have questions that weren't answered in this hosting session, please do feel free to get in touch. His email will be up on the internal elections website, so you can just go through and you should be able to find, and also like Blue Sky and all that other stuff, right? So yeah,
A lot of socials on there.
yeah. Cool. And with that, I think we're now done.